Ah, yes, the Cars video games. I'm sure a majority of the Cars fandom would know what these games are, and they're a pretty big part of the franchise. Although they may not have played as much of a role in the movies per se, they're definitely pretty good, and if you consider them canon, have a lot of lore, by the way. But anyways, enough about that. Today, I'm going to be ranking all 5 of the mainline games that came out in the eras from Cars 2 and 3. Of course, Pixar's not made a single game since Driven to Win, but that's besides the point. Anyways, I'll be doing a ranking list on all 5 mainline games, so you can expect games like the Mayor Tall Tales video game or Fast as Lightning or any of those other games just not be on this list. But I might talk about those another time. But anyways, I decided to do this. So, here we go. Okay, look, before I start off this list, let me just clarify. I like all the games on this list, but the one that's easily the weakest is... Oh, you guys already know what it is. I mean, it's literally Cars 3 Driven to Win. What more had to be said? Look, it's not a bad game. In fact, I actually find it very enjoyable. It's like a guilty pleasure for me, I guess. It's just that, well... Okay, so let's just go through some of the flaws. First up, we all know about the voice actor problem they had back then. You know, so we didn't get very good actors for the game. Except for the ones that sound more like their movie counterparts, but those were the ones that mainly debuted in Cars 3. Those being Cruz Ramirez and Jackson Storm. Plus, I do actually like A.J. Hamilton, Jackson Storm. He does a pretty good job voicing Jackson and sounding like you-know-who. And yeah.
Will Lightning ever be victorious again?
At least he's on the course and not prancing around in front of a camera all day.
There are a lot of other characters in this game that are an example of what I mean. They may not have their exact voice actors, but at least they sound accurate enough. But if only I could say that for all the characters in this game. Because they couldn't find an Italian actor, Luigi couldn't be in this game, and they put Guido in here, but since he's not even someone who speaks English, they just decided to put him on full mute. So, I guess that's a little bit reasonable, but I don't get how Ramon appears here and Flo doesn't. Yeah, even without a huge DLC, Cars 2 the video game pretty much has more characters than this game does. Oh, yeah, and speaking of DLC, this game doesn't even have one. May we get a moment of silence for the characters who couldn't make it in. With all of what I just said, you would think I don't like this game. But actually, I do like it. Not love it, just like it. But here's why. I do like a majority of the characters in this game. Even though some of them weren't voice acted all that well, there were some of them who I pretty much liked. I do like that they brought back the Cars 2 tracks and revamped them, as they are the equivalents to Mario Kart's retro tracks in this game. I do also like the new tracks like Arizona, Copper Speedway, Florida International Speedway, Thunderhall, Destruction Derby, Thomas Hole, Mining Camp, so on and so forth. One thing you guys say that Cars 3 and did not do wrong was definitely the music. The music was top notch. It's still not amazing though, but overall, the game's decent, despite a few flaws. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about one more flaw. It's literally this guy named Jerry. Yeah, forgot to mention him. Frick you, Jerry. at number 4, we have Mater National. Now, don't get me wrong, I love this game, okay? But I really feel like it's not exactly as amazing as the others are. Okay, look, I know a lot of you love Mater National, so just give me a chance to explain. Now, if I ranked these about a year or two ago, I would have said that Mater National is my favorite. But recently, I have kind of thought about it, and I've realized, yeah, you know what, this is kind of the weakest game of the THQ trilogy. It's still a pretty good game, though. I mean, come on, let's just talk about it real quick. One thing I have to give this game over the first Cars video game is definitely having a little more of a difficulty mode. There's that first. I do also like that they made several of the video game characters playable, because the only character they made playable in the last Cars video game was Count Spatula. And, well, he's pretty cool, but he was the only playable character who only came out of the game. We didn't get that for any other characters, really, like El Guapo or Vince or any of the queens. So I'm glad that we got that with most of these guys. And yeah, speaking of the characters, I really do like a lot of them in this game. They may not be the best characters throughout the Cars video games, but I like them. If I had to rank all the characters that appeared in this game in terms of being racers, this right here would be my list. I really like the fact that they brought in some international racers into this, since they're actually pretty cool. My favorite of them being Koji. In fact, he's probably my favorite character to come out of all the Cars video games in general. I mean, I really like his cool paint job design. I do also like some of the lore and locations this game has. Like, there's the racing headquarters of Lightning McQueen, and there's also the Ornament Valley Airport. I am actually very curious about that place. One thing that really impressed me in this game was the relay races, and I actually quite like these. Even though only 2 out of 4 of them actually had something to do with the story, they were quite enjoyable. They gave us more opportunities to play as more characters than just Lightning McQueen himself, and like, I really enjoyed playing as characters like Fillmore or Flo or Ramon. Basically, the ones that have to do with the story were both 1 and 4, and we had to play as Lightning McQueen, Mater, and Doc Hudson. But they were pretty enjoyable, I'm not gonna lie. Another thing I didn't like about Cars 3 Driven to Win was the plot that was just beat other racers and stuff until you can race Jackson Storm, and that was just pretty much it. There was no actual like story mode, we just had to race others. And this game's a little similar, because all these are just races leading up to the grand finale, the third Rust Bucket race. And we just have to keep meeting these other cars along with it until we get there. But I'll excuse it for this game, since to be fair, it has a lot more interactions and it's fun to play all these mini games and stuff and meet all these other characters. Another thing I really liked in this game was the soundtrack. Yeah, I kind of used soundtracks from the previous game, but it also used some soundtracks from real life that I also really liked. When I played the Rust Bucket levels as a kid and found out that What I Like About You was used in this game, I was actually really impressed, and I played it over and over again. It was very fun. And I also like that they include Life is a Highway in this game, because basically it's one of the main theme songs for the Cars franchise at this point, if you know what I mean. I think the graphics in the game are pretty good. I'm saying this as someone who plays on a Wii, but I've seen some clips of the Xbox and probably PlayStation cutscenes, and For what I know, the graphics on here are pretty good. With all that said, though, it has a couple flaws I can't really ignore that much. I personally don't mind McQueen too much in this game. But really, though, we all know that in the first movie, McQueen was pretty cocky. And even after he helped the king at the finish line, he was still a little overconfident every once in a while. Cars the video game showed that, but for here, it's really just gone. I mean, was Lightning really that friendly? I mean, the closest he got was that one scene where Goodman almost jumped on him and Sarge while jumping out of the abandoned place in Ornament Valley. But really, though, I think Lightning's a little too friendly in this game. I mean, I don't mind him being friendly. I mean, that's good, you know, showing that he's kind of reforming a little, but still, it still kind of just doesn't fit him way too much being that friendly. Even though he is a little off in this game, I still find him to be quite likable. So yeah, Lightning McQueen is not my biggest problem with this game. Instead, it's all these monster truck levels we have in this game. I mean, like, okay, it was kind of fun at first, but over time, it just became filler. I'm just gonna put it as that. And plus, the whole thing about building Monster Truck Simulator is really just filler, okay? When I first watched cutscene videos for this game, I never saw any cutscenes with Monster Mater or Monster McQueen. Basically, that just makes me feel like this whole stuff is just filler. I mean, yeah, I like the Mike and Sully appearance and all, but really though, these were made just to please us, and I honestly just think it's filler. It's still a pretty fun and neat game despite those two flaws, but yeah, it's very fun. It's just easily the weakest game out of the THQ games, but still better than Cars 3 Driven Wind, though. This one will kind of feel like a bit of a hot take, but I honestly think that Cars 2, the video game, has got to at least be better than one or two of the THQ trilogy games. I had a bit of trouble deciding which game I preferred, but in the end, well, I chose Cars the video game over Cars 2 the video game. I get it, the kart racer style used in this game is different from the world racing style we had in the THQ trilogy, but I honestly really like this kart racer style here. I mean, I've always been a big fan of the Mario Kart games and all sorts of other kart racers. Or maybe part of me is just a little biased since this was my second ever video game I ever played. Anyways, let's talk about the character roster. That's one thing I really like that this game has. And plus, it is a bigger and better one than Cars 3 Driven Wind does. They even have a whole glass DLC with a lot of characters that came from this game. And not even that, but characters who didn't even appear in Cars 2 the movie, but were just from the previous parts of the franchise. And I gotta say, they're actually really cool to play as, although they cost money. If you're someone like me who's into soundtracks, oh man, you're gonna love the soundtracks that are in this game. They had no reason to go this hard. I mean, they're actually straight up bangers, if you ask me. I do also really like the hunter levels that were used in this game. A lot of people said they were kind of boring, and I can see what they're saying, but man, I love these hunter levels. They were so fun and so badass. And Oh man, I love doing the weapon fighting games. I also really like that they put some of the World Grand Prix racers in this game. Made it really fun to play as them. And I really like their accents and everything. And plus, all of them have a voice now. Sorry, Rip. Also, I should probably mention this, but you should probably play Cars 2 the video game on the Xbox or the PlayStation 3. Because on the Wii, well, let's just say, with the Wii, you're kind of stuck with crappy graphics. But with the Xbox, oh man, they're just so colorful and beautiful. So, yeah. The only thing I don't really like about this game is kind of the repetitive tracks. And also a few certain levels can feel a little rushed. But overall, it's a very fun game to play. And I definitely recommend you should get it. And again, I might be a little bit biased since this is one of the first ever games I've played, but I really do still love it to this day. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second spot, which goes to Cars the video game. A legendary video game, if I say so myself. I always really enjoyed this game and thought it was just such a fun journey in Radiator Springs, showcasing the events of what happened in Lightning's career and in his life in Radiator Springs after the first Cars movie. And plus, not to mention that when driving around Radiator Springs or Ornament Valley and Tailwind Pass, it kind of feels like I'm just exploring the place a lot. Like, it's actually quite fun. I also really enjoyed some of the characters that came from this game. Even though I couldn't play some of them, there are these guys, in case you're wondering. I do also love the events where you can race against the other counties and even interact with them. It was also very fun to do. I'm only not a fan of two things. Those being the fact that you can't play as certain characters that appeared only in this game. Like my favorites, like I just showed, actually. And I also don't like the easy difficulty. There's that as well. Overall, Cars the video game is actually pretty fun, and I enjoy it every time I play it. And currently, I am doing a walkthrough series on it, so make sure to check that out. So anyways, on to number 1 now. Ladies and gentlemen, after about 18 minutes of this, we have finally come down to number 1 on this list. And it is Cars Race-O-Rama. I don't know what it is, but over the years when I've played Cars Race-O-Rama, it's just kind of grown on me. Like, I really love this game. Adore even. Basically, I gotta love the graphics for this game. They are quite incredible. I'm just gonna start there, you know. One thing I really like that this game has is the fact that we can go to other places now and drive around there instead of being stuck in Radiator Springs all the time, like we usually are. I mean, like, I love Radiator Springs, but it's fun to just go to other places and visit them as well. You know what I'm saying? My favorite of the characters that probably came out of this game had to be the Stinger guy. I mean, he's a real tough one, but hey, he's fun, especially when he revs his engine. Car a few words, what can you really say? I also really did like this blue truck here. I mean, he's pretty enjoyable, even if he can be a bit of a sore loser. So, in general, I liked a lot of the characters in this game. Well, aside from the one, bratty car. I also really did enjoy the Rust Bucket Stadium stuff that we did, where we raced against Bubba as Mater in order to keep the towing rights to Radiator Springs. It was actually a fun little side story. And you gotta admit one thing. One thing the video games had never screwed up at was the soundtrack. The soundtrack was always a banger, and this game especially. There's only one big problem this game has, and that being the Guido Kart series. I mean, it was a fun little concept, but it was just so tricky to get around, and plus it was very difficult and very frustrating to play through. But yep, there you have it. That's Cars Race-O-Rama, my favorite video game in this series. And with that, you have now witnessed the new format in my ranking list series. This new format was inspired by Claude Scruggs Ranks, who returned and used this format for a series afterwards, and I decided that I wanted to also use his format as well. So I asked him, and he said, yeah, can't wait to see what you come up with. I don't know if my new format is exactly as good as his is, but it was definitely worth trying, and I hope you all enjoyed it. So with this new format, I have no idea when or what my next ranking list is going to be, but if you guys have any ideas, I would love to hear them. So anyways, y'all, thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below, and I'll see you all for the next video. This is Kirby Tanks and Gaming Productions 39. See y'all next time.